The Atheist Debates Patreon Project presents Religion and Children. Hey everybody, welcome. We've got a surprise video. I mean, it's not a surprise for you because I put out regular videos, 4 of them a month. On my Patreon, you can go become a patron. I hardly ever advertise it, but it'd be nice to, add some more folks. You can contribute to videos like this where I give my thoughts on religion and other issues. This one is a surprise because it was a surprise to me. I was working on getting videos done to close out the month, and most of them I've spent many weeks, processing and outlining in my head and getting things ready. This one is in response to a social media post that I saw earlier this morning, and it prompted a couple of different discussions, and I watched the feedback from different people. And this is one where I'm interested to hear what y'all have to say. So add your own thoughts down in the comments as to what you would do and what you think about this. Was it right? Is there a better way? The social media post, which I cannot verify the truth of, I'm not going to post a link to it. I don't necessarily want to put this person on blast either way. But he was talking about how he and his kid were out, I guess, around a playground or something. And like a 7-year-old kid came up to them to proudly announce that gay people were of the devil. And he responded to that kid because they were suggesting that their parents had told them that God said gay people were of the devil. And their response was to tell that kid that God is just something that parents made up in order to get kids to do what they say. I'm going to let that sit for a second because my first reaction was, oh man, I wish you hadn't done that. That was my first reaction. I no longer have that view, by the way, before you start typing down the comments about how wrong I am. It's a little more nuanced than that. I've been hosting the Atheist Experience show for over 17 years. And in those years, we've had many people who were clearly underage call in to ask us questions. And it's always made me a little nervous and prompted me to exercise great caution when I know that I'm dealing with someone else's minor child. That is the sort of thing that I don't even know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a parent. I don't know all the potential trouble spots in that area. And the last thing that I wanted to do in hosting the show, I wanted to educate people, including kids. I'm happy for kids to learn the truth. Kids are people too, even though they're not in my phone book. Sorry, Bill Hicks. But I've been cautious because I'm worried about having undue influence over somebody else's kid. I don't want to undermine their relationship. And we've had this conversation about different subjects, like is teaching something like Santa Claus a good thing? Like you can use it as a lesson in skepticism? Or is it a bad thing because it destroys potential trust about parents and how honest they are or aren't? And I'm torn on something like that. I think it can be a bit of fun. I think it can be a teaching exercise, but it's undeniable that you are engaged in intentional deception. The question then becomes, is that intentional deception roughly in the same category as we're planning a surprise party for you? I don't think it is in that category. I think if I lie to someone about what we're doing that evening because we have a surprise party plan and we want to surprise them, the motivations for that deception are about something that we hope will ultimately be pleasant and desired by the person that we're doing this for. It's like, hey, I'm going to take you somewhere and I'm not going to tell you where it is. We're going to drive around. And so you get a surprise. That's probably a more honest way of doing it than to just, flat out lie in order to get the surprise effect. When it comes to something like Santa, I'm less inclined to, like if I had kids, I think I'd be less inclined to do that in anything other than a playful sense. And the first time my kids began asking questions about it, And I might even encourage those questions to say that this is a cultural thing that we do for fun. And, but there's valuable lessons to learn that anybody can lie. This example, though, is very different. Generally, I don't run around telling people's kids that their parents are lying to them, whether it's about Santa or you can grow up to be anything you want or anything like that. But if their parents had taught them to be openly racist and they came up and told people that a particular ethnic group were of the devil, I think we would all oppose that. And I think it would be a natural response from virtually any adult human to say, no, honey, that's not true. And maybe drop the honey, because I'm not that big on being patronizing to kids. There's a big debate about baby talk, and I can recognize the value of it. But generally speaking, I tend to talk to kids as if they're adults. I don't give them all the same information, but I want to carry on conversations on the rare times when I carry on a conversation with a kid that is something that will resonate with them and doesn't feel like, I don't want them to feel like they're being patronized or dismissed just because of their age or size or whatever else. So I think any of us would look at a kid that was spouting racist nonsense and say, no, that's not the case. You've been misinformed or something. We don't hold kids responsible to the same degree that we hold adults responsible, and we shouldn't. And there's another video coming, which is probably why this popped into my head, that is relevant to that as well. It's one that Shannon and I are going to talk about a bit after the video's out. But these parents have essentially poisoned the mind of their kid with an ideology that isn't just wrong, and I mean like wrong in the sense of unethical and factually incorrect. It's just their bigoted opinion. It's harmful and damaging, and not just damaging to their own kid, it's damaging to others. Like, I would already object if they were just damaging their kid. We talked about potential experiments that would be unethical to do, that, you can't just take a bunch of children and drop them down on a deserted island and let them fight it out and see what kind of gods they invent or what kind of things they discover. To test that old thing of if you deleted every, book in the world, science would rediscover most or all of the same things, and religion would probably be completely different in its individual facts. You're not going to rewrite the Bible. You're not going to come up with Christianity in any sort of the same way as you would before. That's the supposition, or the inference. It's, we can't prove it because it would be unethical to do that. Just like it would be unethical to teach your kids that right is left and left is right, and just to see how difficult the world is for them when they get up there. But when you think about it, that left is right and right is left teaching is exactly what's happening when we teach kids bigotry. When we teach kids that some God prefers them and other people are evil and of the devil and all of the baggage that comes with that, it inhibits all of their interactions with people, not only of the affected classes, but of the people who know and care about those people, the people who are, cognizant of racism and its impact and bigotry and its impact in all forms, homophobia, transphobia, etc. Our jobs as adults, not just parents, as adults, one moral duty that I think we have is to be stewards, shepherds, caretakers of the next generation, to foster a spirit of inquiry and discovery, a desire for knowledge and truth and honesty. And we talk about having these conversations, particularly with kids, but I mean, just with people in general, in the context of planting seeds. We plant these seeds. We plant these seeds. Christianity uses it all the time. The Holy Spirit's going to plant a seed, blah, blah, blah. But it's realistic because what you're saying is, I don't need to give you a whole plant. I need to give you a seed that can grow that you then care for, because now you have some investment in that. It wasn't just, oh, here's a plant. It's, here's my plant. And so planting seeds in a metaphorical sense is incredibly important. But what do you do when parents aren't planting seeds, they're planting weeds? Well, the first issue is, if it's their garden, they're free to plant weeds. You can, well, what I call is a plant, what you call a weed, may be different. Dandelions get labeled weeds. I think they're beautiful. I don't want them all over my yard, but you could put a dandelion in a plant and tell me all day long that it's a weed, and I don't care because it's cute. I like it. But when they're planting those weeds in somebody else's garden, does it matter whether or not that garden belongs to their child that they're instructing? Maybe they're intentionally planting weeds to teach their kid how to, get them out of the garden to grow better plants. I don't think that that's likely when we're teaching straight up bigotry. And so I tend not to meddle with people's kids, and I tend to discourage that sort of meddling. I'm happy to take calls. I've taken calls from teenagers before. And what I would frequently tell them is, this is what I think. Other people may think different things. Your parents may think different things. Your parents may be correct. They may not be correct. What you need to do is find the methodology, and I'm happy to help with that to whatever extent I can, find the mechanisms that allow you to figure out who's most likely right, and the mechanisms that allow you to figure out, what should my position be until such time as I know what the right answer is? How much, am I embracing I don't know as both my position and an ideological stance that changes only when a position is actually warranted? I am fine with encouraging someone else's kid to remove the weeds that their parents planted in the garden of their mind. It's the sort of meddling that I'm okay with. Because in the same way that the truth is always a defense against libel, making the world a better place, which it is without hateful ideologies, is a good thing. The individual who posted this meme that got the whole conversation started said that if you're going to teach your children to hate, I'm going to teach them to disobey you. I'm not so much encouraging people to teach children to disobey their parents. I'm encouraging them to get the weeds out of that garden. After all, their parents are constantly running around trying to plant those same weeds in my garden, in my kids' garden if I had kids, in my neighbor's garden. They stand on the floor of the seat of government to fight against social justice, liberty, autonomy, equality, fairness, and decency in the name of their God. And if they're mad that their kid heard a different perspective, that's their problem, because that's us trying to make sure that the world as a whole has fewer weeds and more seeds. What do you guys think? Is it okay to tell somebody else's kid, hey, your parents aren't being honest with you, or your parents are making something up to control you? Or is there a softer message of, your parents are wrong about homosexuality? Their parents are wrong about God. How far would you go in responding to a kid who's clearly not just being fed a religious ideology, not just Jesus loves the little children, but Jesus hates these people, or these people are of the devil? How far are you willing to go to help rescue those kids from a mind so entrenched in weeds that no viable plant can grow? Post your answer in the comments, and thanks. We'll see you next time.